What happens when an entire nation rises to honor one man's voice? Not a king, not a politician, but a storyteller who spent his life teaching humanity how to love the earth. As Prince William stepped onto the stage to celebrate Sir David Attenborough's 100th birthday, the atmosphere inside the hall became deeply emotional. The future king's tribute was not just a speech. It was a heartfelt thank you from generations who grew up hearing David's voice guide them through the wonders of nature. From touching personal memories to powerful words about hope, responsibility, and the future of the planet, this became one of the most unforgettable royal tributes in recent memory. And by the end of the speech, many people in the audience were visibly holding back tears. The atmosphere inside the hall carried a rare kind of emotion that evening, the kind that cannot be rehearsed, manufactured, or recreated for cameras. It was drenched in mist, giant whales gliding through dark oceans, snow-covered mountains untouched by civilization, tiny insects hidden beneath leaves, herds of elephants moving across golden plains beneath fading sunsets, and through every image echoed the familiar voice that generations had grown up hearing in their homes: calm, wise, gentle, timeless. For decades, that voice had guided millions through the wonders of nature. It had narrated childhoods. It had comforted people during difficult moments. It had awakened curiosity in children and inspired responsibility in adults. And tonight, the world had gathered not simply to celebrate a broadcaster, but to honor a man whose life's work changed humanity's relationship with the planet itself. As the final montage came to an end, the room remained still for several long seconds. No one rushed to clap. No one moved. It was almost as if the audience was reluctant to let the moment disappear. The final image of Earth slowly faded from the screen, and a quiet, emotional weight settled over the hall. Then the host stepped onto the stage, visibly moved by the significance of the evening. "We are deeply honored tonight," the host began warmly, "to welcome someone who has worked alongside David for many years and who shares his enduring commitment to protecting the natural world. Tonight, he joins us not only as the future king, but as someone personally inspired by David's extraordinary life and legacy. Please welcome His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales." The moment Prince William appeared, the audience instantly rose to its feet. The applause thundered through the hall with overwhelming warmth and admiration. It was loud, emotional, and deeply sincere. Yet even as the crowd celebrated him, William paused briefly before beginning his speech. He glanced toward the massive screens behind him, where clips from David's documentaries had just played moments earlier. "Good evening, everyone," he said warmly. "Watching those clips again tonight, I realized something I hadn't fully appreciated before," he added with a smile, "just how often David enjoys taking his shirt off while filming." Laughter instantly rippled across the hall. "I'm afraid," William continued jokingly, "I won't be following his example this evening." The humor relaxed the room immediately, but beneath the laughter there was something more personal. This did not feel like a formal royal tribute carefully prepared for public appearances. It felt heartfelt, human, genuine. As the laughter faded, William's expression slowly became more thoughtful. "It is an incredibly rare privilege to celebrate a century of life," he continued. "But what makes tonight truly extraordinary is not simply the number of years we are honoring. It is the impact of those years, because very few people in history can honestly say they changed the way humanity sees the world. David Attenborough is one of those people." The room fell silent again. "For decades, David, your voice has been a constant presence in our lives. Generations have grown up hearing your words guide them through the greatest wonders of our planet. You took us into rainforests filled with mystery and life. You carried us across vast oceans hiding worlds most of us could never imagine. You showed us deserts, mountains, frozen landscapes, coral reefs, and creatures so extraordinary they almost felt unreal." William spoke slowly now, allowing every word to settle deeply over the audience. "But more importantly, you taught us something beyond science and facts. You taught us how to look at nature with wonder." David sat quietly in the audience, listening as the room remained completely still around him. "In a world that often moves too quickly," William continued, "where people become consumed by conflict, distraction, and noise, your work reminded humanity to stop and truly see what surrounds us. Through your storytelling, nature no longer felt distant. It became personal. Suddenly, the destruction of a forest mattered. The survival of a species mattered. The health of our oceans mattered, because you helped people understand that these were not isolated tragedies happening somewhere far away. They were part of our shared home." There was an emotional heaviness in the room now, the kind created only by truth spoken sincerely. There is something uniquely powerful about the way you communicate, William continued. You never relied solely on fear or anger. Even while speaking about climate change, extinction, and environmental destruction, you always balanced honesty with hope. You believed humanity could still change course, and because you believed it, millions of others believed it too. He glanced briefly across the audience before continuing more personally. Long before environmental issues became global headlines, David was already sounding the alarm, but he did so not to shame people or divide them. He did it to awaken them. He understood that real change begins when people fall in love with the world around them. The prince's voice softened noticeably. Like millions of families around the world, my own children have grown up listening to your voice. They have sat fascinated in front of television screens, completely absorbed by the beauty of the natural world you introduced them to. Through your story, you have managed to unite generations the way you have. For a brief moment, William seemed reflective, almost emotional himself. For me personally, David, your friendship has been deeply meaningful. Over the years, you have strengthened my own determination to act, not only to speak about environmental issues, but to work alongside those creating real solutions. You helped me understand that protecting nature is not simply an environmental responsibility, it is a human responsibility. The room listened in complete silence. When you spend time with David, William said softly, you quickly realize that his wisdom goes far beyond broadcasting. He possesses an extraordinary ability to make people care, and in today's world, that ability may be more valuable than ever. He then spoke about the Earthshot Prize and the future of environmental innovation. With your encouragement and support, we launched the Earthshot Prize with the hope of turning inspiration into action. Because inspiration alone is no longer enough, we must support the scientists, conservationists, innovators, and communities working tirelessly to repair our planet and create a sustainable future. He paused briefly. And David, your influence can be seen in every part of that mission. The optimism you gave the world continues to inspire people forward. You made humanity believe that solutions are possible if we are brave enough to pursue them. The applause returned again, quieter now, almost reverent. One of the greatest gifts you have given humanity, William continued, is not simply an understanding of what is at risk. It is the belief that positive change is still possible. Tonight, William said, we celebrate far more than 100 remarkable years. We celebrate a lifetime of extraordinary service, a lifetime dedicated to bringing the natural world closer to humanity and humanity closer to its responsibility toward the natural world. He turned again toward David directly. Your legacy cannot be measured simply by awards, honors, or even the breathtaking films you created. Your true legacy lives within the generations you inspired. Scientists inspired by your curiosity, conservationists inspired by your determination, children inspired by your storytelling, families inspired to care about a world beyond themselves. There was another pause, longer this time. And perhaps most importantly, your legacy lives within ordinary people, millions of people who now look at nature differently because of you. People who once saw forests merely as scenery now see ecosystems worth protecting. People who once viewed wildlife as entertainment now see fragile species deserving survival. Emotion became more visible in William's expression. In a century shaped by enormous change, uncertainty, and conflict, your voice remained steady, calm, wise, reassuring. For many people, your narration became more than storytelling. It became comfort, perspective, hope. The audience erupted into applause once again before William gently continued. As we celebrate you tonight, we also look toward the future, a future where your message continues guiding new generations. Because while the challenges facing our planet are immense, so too is humanity's capacity for courage, compassion, and innovation. He smiled softly. If there is a battle still to be fought for Earth, it is one you have already prepared us for. You spent your life teaching humanity not only what we stand to lose, but what we still have time to save. At this point, many guests were visibly emotional. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others watched David Attenborough quietly, fully aware they were witnessing a historic moment. William's final words carried extraordinary warmth and gratitude. So, David, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your extraordinary kindness. Thank you for dedicating your life to helping humanity understand the beauty, wonder, and fragility of our planet. His voice softened further. Thank you for teaching generations of children that nature is not something distant or disposable, but something sacred. The room remained completely silent. And thank you, William continued, for reminding all of us again and again that despite the challenges we face, hope still exists. The prince paused one final time before smiling warmly toward the man seated before him. Happy 100th birthday. For a brief second, the room stood completely still, almost overwhelmed by emotion. Then suddenly, the audience rose once more in an enormous standing ovation that seemed to shake the entire hall. The applause thundered endlessly as cameras captured David Attenborough smiling humbly, visibly touched by the tribute. Some people clapped while wiping tears from their faces. Others simply stood in silence, overwhelmed by gratitude for the man who had spent his entire life helping humanity reconnect with the earth. It was more than applause for a broadcaster, more than admiration for a celebrated figure. It was gratitude for a man who had spent a century teaching humanity to love the world before it was too late. And in that moment, surrounded by generations he had inspired, David Attenborough's legacy felt larger than television, larger than royalty, larger even than history itself. It felt timeless. If David Attenborough's documentaries ever inspired you, calmed you, or changed the way you see nature, then this tribute will truly stay with you. His voice shaped generations, and Prince William's emotional words reminded the world why his legacy matters more than ever. Watch until the very end because the final standing ovation says everything words cannot. And if you believe voices like David's should never be forgotten, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who grew up watching his incredible journey. Because legends like Sir David Attenborough come once in a lifetime.